Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm very good, thanks.
Happy to hear it. Congratulations on Shazam.
Thank you.
Really, really enjoyed your character in it. It really looked like you were having the time of your life playing the bad guy. It does seem like it is more fun to be the bad guy, and I'm sure you would agree with that, would you?
I think so. I mean, I think they get fantastic costumes. They get the best lines.
Yeah.
They get to explore the dark side, you know, which is not something that we get to do in everyday life. So in a way, it's kind of quite cathartic. I get to do that and then go back to my normal life.
I remember a few years ago, Anthony Hopkins talked about the effect Silence of the Lambs had, where people were literally afraid to talk to him.
Right.
After they seen him, people had like an idea of who Anthony Hopkins was based on who he played. Have you had any odd interactions where people are like, "That's that guy who's evil. I'm afraid to talk to him in real life."
I don't know if they're afraid. I get some funny looks, you know, on the tube. I can see people thinking, "I know that guy from somewhere," and it's not good wherever I know him from. So I get that occasionally. And also when I got together with my wife, I remember her family at the time had only ever seen me in movies, didn't know who I was, and they were really worried about her that she'd got together with a complete psychotic.
People just can't differentiate the real world. But like, they also say that the people who play the best bad guys are the nicest people in real life.
Okay, well, I like to say that that's the truth.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
Well, let's follow with that then. Right. When it comes to playing the bad guy in a film like Shazam, which is like a different tone to what we've seen to the majority of superhero films before, where they're a bit more, especially lately, a bit more serious, a bit more grim. Do you have to change how you play that character, knowing that it is of a slightly more comedic slant? Yeah. No, it's a lighter movie, or does it go too far the other way, where if you aren't serious enough, then people don't find your character threatening?
That's a very good point, and it's a very good question, because yeah, you're absolutely right. The funnier it is, David Sandberg, the director, and I realised the darker it's got to be in a weird way. I'm like the straight man to the funny guy, you know. And I thought if we put any humour into Sivana, it would, you know, it would undermine the humour in the rest of the story. Also, it kind of belittles the nemesis. It doesn't create enough jeopardy. So we always decided he was going to be evil, serious, single-minded, scary. That was the idea. And David's horror background, you know, the director's horror background, meant that Sivana's well supported, because there's a couple of properly scary scenes in there.
I was going to say, there's a few scenes where I was like, oh, any poor child coming along to this is going to be traumatised.
But they love being traumatised.
I'm not against that at all. I remember films from like the 80s and 90s where I was traumatised as a child, so I think a little bit more movie trauma for the younger generation. I'm totally on board with it.
Right.
One thing for me would be, if I see myself in a movie, I would never get bored of seeing myself flying.
Right.
Do you ever see yourself, because this isn't the first time you've flown in a movie even, but like, would you ever look up and go, so I'm just flying again?
No, I mean, this kind of flying was really intriguing. I mean, as Sinestro, I did a lot of sort of descending through the air in a very stately fashion, and then rocket-like flying. This involved much more kind of fighting in midair, floating up there, looking around. I felt like it was really impressive to see it when it's on the screen, and that's the nature of these movies. You know, you're in a big blue warehouse most of the time. You're on wires. There's nothing there to have a look at. You have to use your imagination, which is part of the fun. But then to see that manifest itself on the screen once the wires have been painted out, the scenery's all been put in, and you see yourself in that context, is really quite impressive.
And one final question: since I've come over for Ireland, I will be killed if I don't ask you. Because
it's not about Brexit, is it?
No. That was going to be the next one.
I'm joking.
We're coming up to 10 years on the Guard.
Right.
If you can believe that, coming up to 10 years. Just any recollections or anecdotes from making that movie?
Oh my God! I mean, I just laughed so much on that film. I couldn't get over it. And what was really fascinating was when we all stayed in the same hotel. And I mean, I like a Guinness like the next man, but I didn't realise that everybody had to buy a round, and they wouldn't let you go to bed until you'd bought a round. So
and then drank that round.
I slept well most evenings on that job, I have to say.
Fair enough. Mark, thanks so much.
Hey, pleasure.
Thanks,
Lovely to meet you.
AM to the PM, PM to the AM.
You have super strength. Can you fly?
If I quit your PM, I still rock Mercedes. If I quit this season, I still be the greatest.
You okay? Why are you talking?
Be humble. Sit down.
You know, I don't think that's gonna buff out.
Your phone's charged. Your phone's charged.
The hell?
You're like a bad guy, right?
Shazam!
Gentlemen!
You have bullet immunity!
I'm bulletproof.
You're dead.
your window, but you're welcome for not getting robbed. Oh, hey, what's up? I'm a superhero.